What's up, everybody? Steve here. I have my main channel. It's under my name, Steve Daria, and I do a lot of videos on the housing market and real estate investing and so forth. But I quickly realized as a real estate broker here in Florida that I know that I need to help out our fellow real estate agents. So I decided on this channel. It's called The Distressed Agent. And I think more than ever right now, it's imperative that real estate agents start to pivot and start to educate themselves for the future real estate crash. And I believe that we are going to go into a lot of turmoil. I mean, let's go over a handful of things right now. Right now, more than ever, because of the high interest rates as of today, which is May 3rd, I believe the 30-year fixed stands around 5.55%. And that's extremely high. I mean, 6 months ago we were around 3%. So I think it's important that we see the writing on the wall. And the writing on the wall right now is these lending institutions are pushing adjustable rate mortgages. Now you might think that oh, okay, this is great. This is an option for my buyer. And unfortunately, yes, it might be an option for your buyer, but it could put them in a really bad position. You know, in the last housing crash, I was not prepared at all. I definitely did not study micro and macro economics and really what influenced different trends and different markets and different housing markets. And I really got stuck because when the market shifted, things just flatlined, and I should have seen the writing on the wall. And I think a lot of real estate agents right now are experiencing a slowdown in their business. I appreciate if you guys do comment and let me know what your experiences are in your specific real estate market. Now, every real estate market is different. You know, real estate is micro in terms of the economics associated with it. So, you know, a market in certain areas up in the Northeast still might be increasing in value and still might be, heavy with multiple offers and everything else. However, there's a lot of other real estate markets that are shifting. As mentioned, I said that lenders are pushing adjustable rate mortgages. Now, these are not safe loans. And, these adjustable rate mortgages, they'll balloon in, say, a 3-year, 5-year, or 7-year period. It just depends on what they signed up for. But the problem is if they are at that point in time upside down, they owe more than what the property's worth after paying all closing costs on the back end, they're going to be upside down, and they're going to have to be maybe in a short sale position if they do have to sell their property. And this is the reason for this video. So I'm going to talk about different ways that you as a real estate agent can thrive during a downturn in the market. And that's what we had to do in the last real estate recession. Was we had to pivot, and we concentrated on several areas of our real estate business to ensure that we not only survived, but we actually in turn thrived. We were actually in Lee County for several years, the top listing brokerage for short sales, and we'll talk more about that. The Fed is up against the wall. The Federal Reserve is trying to fight inflation, and they really have no more tools, despite what Powell says. They have no more tools in their toolbox, as he says. So the only thing that they can do, and on Wednesday, tomorrow, May 4th, I anticipate they're going to go up 50 basis points. Now, think about it for a second. The Fed only went up 25 basis points, and look what it did to mortgage rates. I mean, they just skyrocketed. Really, since they raised that, mortgage rates went up almost 2.5%, 3%. So it is very significant. And if they increase another 50 basis points, we could probably see in a short period of time, 6.5%, maybe 7%, maybe even higher for mortgage interest rates, which is going to have a negative effect for our real estate market. Now look at mainstream media, GDP, first quarter GDP. That everybody was surprised on mainstream media saying that, they were shocked that it was negative 1.4%. Now, every economist out there was saying that it was going to be a positive 1% for Q1 of 2022. And now Q1 2022 resulted in negative GDP. If Q2 ends up in a negative GDP, we are considered officially in a recession. Now, what comes along with a recession, you have high unemployment, you have people really just stepping back, and I think people are already starting to do this, and they're starting to withhold their funds, they're withholding their money because of inflation getting outrageous as well. So the cost of fuel, the cost of food, the cost of services and supplies have skyrocketed. So people are starting to really hoard their money now, or they should be anyway. And I think that is an important lesson too. As a real estate agent, we'll talk more about is we have to get lean in these times. But what led us up to this situation? After the crash, our real estate market as well as economy wasn't necessarily healthy. When the Fed decreases the Fed rate to basically zero, that is not a good sign. And then leading up to the pandemic, they manipulated the real estate market. If they did not do these things that I'm going to discuss, our real estate market would have not shot up, the appreciation rate that it is right now. And I predict that we will see a depreciating market sooner than later. Even here in Southwest Florida, we're starting to see days on market increase. We're starting to see price reductions increase, and we're starting to see more inventory come to market. But the things leading up to this was, obviously the money printing and the amount of stimulus that was put into the market, as well as with the Fed being at 0%, short-term interest rates were very low, which caused mortgage interest rates to be artificially low as well. And what that does is it causes more demand than supply. And ultimately, if rates are that cheap, people are going to buy any and every asset that they possibly can, because the cheap interest actually becomes an asset in itself if utilized correctly, especially if you're renting out a property. Eviction moratoriums. I mean, yeah, like during the pandemic, they didn't want people homeless or whatever the case is. But I truly believe that, people would have figured it out. If they lost their job or whatever the case is, they probably would have figured out having to move in with family members. And I don't think the homelessness would have been as bad as people started to, as bad as what the government had to do to, do the eviction moratorium. And ultimately, it made things a lot worse, where you had landlords that couldn't evict tenants, and landlords are losing their asses. So it just made for a bad thing. So also foreclosure moratorium. You have people that should have been foreclosed on because they were not paying. They were not paying for months, even years, and that came to a complete halt. Which there's always a natural cycle of foreclosures that's supposed to hit the market. So we're going to see a big backlog of a lot of those foreclosures come to market, in my opinion. Forbearance, a lot of people took advantage of the forbearance, and ultimately that just hurt people. It hurt a lot of people. Negotiated into a 40-year mortgage, and they basically reset their loan. They might have paid their loan down, 5 years, 7 years from a 30-year fixed, and now they're back up into maybe a 40-year, which is only going to hurt them. The chances of somebody getting out of that kind of debt position on their home it's unfortunate, but they're going to be stuck with that property for a long time unless they have to sell. And if they're upside down on the property, then you know what's going to happen, which we're going to talk about. The moratorium on paying student debt is only hurting people. People think that, a lot of the student debt is going to be waived, but we're going to see probably pretty quickly that I don't think that they're going to move forward with it. There's been so much money spending or money printing and stimulus and everything else that with inflation the way it is right now, having the taxpayer on the hook for other people's student debt is just astonishing. The media has a lot of FOMO. They're pushing, we're still in a hot real estate market. Now the tone has changed. Again, go to my other channel, Steve Daria. I'll put a link in the description for you guys to check out. But I talk a lot about the media and what they're pushing out there. And I give my take on different articles that I see and how I disagree with certain media fronts and what they're putting out there. So we have a lot of the media pushing out there. If you were only relying on, say, CNBC and you watched the CEO of Coldwell Banker on recently, I mean, it's pretty sad to say, but this guy basically is saying, the velocity and purchasing power, get out there and buy a home. And this is recent, and I did a video on this as well on my other channel. And it's just sad because, he's pushing people to buy property at the height of the market. And ultimately, properties are more unaffordable than any time ever before. So people are going to be in really bad shape, especially if, inflation continues as well. New news coming out too. Berkshire Hathaway fell 75% year over year from their real estate brokerage businesses. Again, if you're a real estate agent, take a look at this article. I'll try to link this as well, but or you can just Google Berkshire 75% down, and that's strictly from their real estate brokerage business. No other businesses we're talking about. Now, that just goes to show you that the amount of sales a year ago was a hell of a lot stronger. And I did another video, I put it on this channel as well, where I predict over 400,000 real estate agents will go out of business. This is why I want to do these live streams, because I want to get the message out. And if you're a real estate agent, please share this with your fellow real estate agents as well, because I don't want you going out of business. There are ways to actually thrive in the market that we're going to come into, but it's important to be prepared. Unlike myself in the last real estate recession, I was not prepared, but I pivoted very quickly. So I'm going to try on this channel every Tuesday or Wednesday doing a live stream for you guys. So hopefully you guys subscribe. If you're not a subscriber already, then be sure to do so we can keep this information coming at you. So basically there's 5 categories that you should be concentrating on right now as a real estate agent. And it's very, very important. The first one is you have to be financially lean. Right now, I got caught up in it in the last real estate recession as well, where, I was being just straight up stupid with money. And it's unfortunate because, at that point in time, there's so many things that I could have done with commission dollars that I was making and put money aside and invested correctly, or just put money inside and didn't buy real estate at the top of the market. Unlike today, I'm in a completely different picture, but I'm just trying to get you guys set up for success. So be sure you get out of any kind of consumer debt, get out of any kind of car debt, credit card debt. All that kind of interest debt is going to rise, especially with the Fed increasing rates. So it's important to get financially lean in this market, because you guys might be experiencing, and comment below, you guys might be experiencing right now people falling out of real estate contracts. And I think we're going to see probably more and more stories of that. We had a real estate agent in our office yesterday. He's been working with this girl for a husband and wife for about 7 months. And obviously, where mortgage rates were 7 months ago, but he was working with this couple for 7 months. They're trying to buy a second home here in Southwest Florida. They finally get into contract. The same day they get into contract, she is freaking out, scared to death. The price point, or the amount of extra interest, it's going to add another $400 or $500 on her loan. And she just bugged out. And before she even submitted escrow, she wanted to cancel out of the contract. So again, getting financially lean right now is important, because you guys probably will see a transition where you're going to see buyers or even sellers back out of contracts. Probably more buyers are going to back out of contracts, and you're going to be relying on those commission dollars to pay for your personal overhead. So getting financially lean is very, very important. Now, what can you do in a real estate recession? What can you concentrate in different niche target markets? This is what we did when the last real estate market turned. And I have little mini courses for all these, and they're all in the description below for you guys as well. They're very straightforward, to the point. And if you follow exactly what I've done in the last real estate recession, you guys could go ahead and list a lot of properties and make a lot of money and help a lot of people as well. So the first thing are short sales. I know they're very slim and far between right now, few and far between, because people do have significant equity. But let me just paint the picture real quick. So let's say somebody bought a house 2 months ago, and unfortunately they have financial difficulties, and the husband and wife are fighting and they bought it for 400 and it's worth say 400. If they only put say 5% down, 10% down, that's probably not going to be enough money to offset the closing costs, because you got to remember they have on the back end of the sale, they have commissions in Florida. They have dock stamps, which is 70 cents for every $100. They have title related closing costs. They have title insurance. So all these costs can put these people into a negative position, even if they basically liquidated the house that they bought today at the same price. They might be in an upside down position. Now, this is not talking about any kind of markets going down in any sense. Now, in Southwest Florida, I'm looking at a handful of markets that I know that houses that sold for over $1 million, I can get right now, like comparable houses sold for like 1 to 1.1. I know I can get right now for probably 850. So we are seeing a decline in housing valuations in some markets. And not obviously, again, real estate is micro for economics. So, but I think a lot of markets are going to start to turn, if not already. So listing short sale is very important. You can help people avoid foreclosure by doing a short sale if they're in that predicament, if they're in that situation. And, I think that, it's a viable option because, foreclosure is just going to set people back really far. Another thing real quick too, when we concentrate on short sales, again, we were the top listing brokerage in Lee County for several years. And we did hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. The thing with that is we help these people. We sat at kitchen tables and families are crying because they're losing their homes. And we help these people out. And the thing is a lot of these people, they rebounded. We stayed in touch with them, and years later we were able to sell them properties again when the market dipped down. And also we became the main referral source for these people as well. So they were referring us to friends and families and neighbors and everything because we took care of them doing a short sale. Again, all these courses are in the link below. I mean, it's very inexpensive for really how much money you could do and how many people you could help with this. The next thing are BPOs. Right now, they're not paying very well. I'm still on several of the email campaigns for a lot of the companies that issue BPOs. But if you're struggling right now, you want to make money, they're paying $40 to $60 a pop. I did another video on basically an updated list of all the updated BPO companies that you guys can sign up for. It's all free, but I do have a BPO course as well. So it brings you guys A to Z of how to get them. It's got an attachment there too with all the BPO companies that you guys can sign up for and some other resources as well. The next niche concentration that you guys want to take advantage of in a housing crash or a decline in the housing market are listing REOs, listing foreclosures. I still remember this lady, her name was Ann with Brighton. And, I just was very consistent with staying in front of her. And finally, she gave me a shot and she gave me one asset to list. Excuse me real quick. She gave me one asset to list. And I went above and beyond. I sent her videos of the house, more than she required from me. I went above and beyond. And I just called her every week asking if she had any other assets. And before you know it, I think we got, just from that one asset manager and that one company, I think we got 30 to 40 foreclosure listings from her. And that was just one asset manager and one company. And eventually that company went out of business. I think it was called Brighton. But listing foreclosures is awesome because if you can get in with 1 or 2 or 3 different asset managers in different companies, you could stand to really have dozens and dozens and dozens of listings from one seller, essentially. And what's cool about it is there's no emotions. You have, when you're dealing with a traditional seller, a lot of times they're very emotional and everything else. But when you're listing REO properties, it's strictly business. But you got to do the necessary steps. So in the course that we have, I teach you exactly what to do, because if you do have well, for one thing, I teach you how to actually go about and getting them. But also, if you do get them, there's protocol that you have to do to ensure that you are making sure that you not only are taking care of their needs and wants with the asset manager, but are going above and beyond so you get more and more listings. And the next thing is that we did in the last real estate recession, and we still do today, which is great for residual income, is property management. And we were two different formats of property management that we did. We did full on management where we would lease the property, manage it, so we'd handle any phone calls or whatever. And there's strategies as well. If you don't want to deal with the day-to-day calls, we've had third-party companies basically handle those calls. And then we just did tenant placement. So that really, when the market crashed and we were pivoting, we always had the property management side of things, and we consistently were making six figures on that. So that kept our heads above water, actually kept us in business, because we had dozens and dozens and dozens of contracts actually fall through during that time, because we sold a lot of pre-construction. A lot of people walked away from contracts, and some builders even walked away from those contracts as well. And we had the property management business, and that really, it started to excel because a couple things. The person that needs to sell and they're upside down, one option is a short sale, but if they could rent the property out and actually break even or cash flow, we provide that as an alternative. So that really started to help in terms of gathering more properties, part of our portfolio for rentals, but it provided that consistent revenue. So it was really gratifying to know that we could have our bills paid and everything else through property management. And again, that's another full course that I offer in the links below, which I think that they're super cheap and affordable. I will increase those prices over time. But right now, I want to get this information out. As mentioned, I'm going to do weekly live streams on this. If you've not checked out my other channel where I talk more on the housing market, that's under my name, Steve Daria. Just plug that into YouTube. And I talk about everything that's going on in the housing market as well as investing. But pass this video along to your fellow real estate agents as well, because we are here to help out other real estate agents, especially in this time of a potential housing crash. And I appreciate you guys being here today. And if you got any value, I appreciate a thumbs up on this video. Thanks a lot for being here, guys.